Let's go, Christina! You got this! You're the best!
Hi, I'm kchoi. Welcome back to my channel. This is going to be a bit of a different video because I'm going to be talking about my marathon experience. I just ran my third marathon, the Brooklyn Marathon, on April 24th. So in this video, I want to share how I trained for it and things I learned, things I would do differently. I actually have a very old video from when I ran my first marathon where I shared a few tips for marathon training. So I thought that I would update that and also incorporate some things I've learned after running a couple more of these races. A bit of a disclaimer, this video is not going to be about how to run faster or improve your marathon time. There are lots of running coaches and other running focused people on the internet who can help with that. I will link some of the resources that I used in the description box. But if you're training for your first marathon or even a half marathon or any other race, I think this video will be helpful just to give you an idea of what it looks like when a normal person is training for one of these races. We've got 4 sections in this video. I'm going to share my stats, how I trained, new things I learned now that I've trained for 3 marathons, and what I would do differently next time. Before we start, I want to take just a minute to tell you about this video's sponsor, which is Squarespace. In case you're unfamiliar, Squarespace is an all-in-one platform to build a website. But it's not just to build your website, it's really a tool to help you build your entire online presence. With Squarespace, you can register your domain, choose from so many beautiful templates, and personalize them to fit your brand, whether you're building a blog, online store, portfolio, whatever it is. You also get access to so many tools that help you do things like analyze your audience, connect to your social media accounts, schedule appointments, and even create exclusive content like videos, blog posts, and classes to create extra revenue through their member areas feature. If you're subscribed to my channel, then you know that I love working with Squarespace, and I truly think that they are the best and easiest way to build a site. So if you're interested in trying out Squarespace, then go to squarespace.com/kchoi to get a free trial. And when you're ready, you can use my code kchoi to get 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. All that info will be in the description box, so go check it out. And thank you so much to Squarespace for sponsoring this video. Okay, so starting with my stats. Again, I have done 3 marathons now, and I actually have gotten slower over time, and there are a few reasons for that, which I'll get into. Just pulling up the numbers here so I get them correct. So my first marathon, I did San Francisco in 2016. I was 25 years old, and I ran that one in 4 hours, 9 minutes, and 37 seconds. My second marathon was Detroit 2019, where I was 28 years old, and I did that one in 4 hours, 13 minutes, and 54 seconds. And then my most recent one was Brooklyn 2022. I'm 31 years old, and I ran that one in 4 hours, 27 minutes, and 47 seconds. One thing about this recent marathon is it was the first time I stopped to walk, and so I walked on and off for maybe like 6 miles or so. The first 2 marathons, I never stopped to walk. I maybe would slow down a bit, but I never actually walked. So that was a big difference with this latest one, and I was just in pain, so I needed to stop and walk because I didn't want to injure myself. And I'm really glad that I did that and listened to how my body was feeling, and I still managed to do it in under 4.5 hours, which was still a really big achievement for me. I'm going to go into more detail about things that I learned and things that I do differently a little later in the video. So now that you have the basics of my stats with my marathon times, let's move on to how I train. For this marathon, I followed the Fast Marathon Training Plan by Track Club Babe, or Kim Clark. It's a 12-week program, and every week has a different focus related to your form or your recovery or some other aspect of running, and you increase your mileage and intensity over time. In addition to that training program, I did do about half of the Fast Fall program that she offers, and that one is another 12-week program, but it's focused on getting your mile time down. So it's focused on speed. Even though I didn't do that full Fast Fall program, and I also took a bit of a break like around the holidays, as one does, it was still helpful because it taught me a lot about form. I found it so helpful to follow Track Club Babe on Instagram because she makes a lot of posts with different cues for your form. So these are just things that you can remind yourself of as you're running in order to make sure that you have the optimal form so that you can run the most efficiently. And another thing that's helpful is to have some friends who are also running. So whether it's someone who has signed up for the same race as you, or they just also have their own running goal, it's always really nice to be able to run with someone someone. One of my running buddies was Sam, who also did the Brooklyn Marathon, but she actually did it virtually the weekend before the official race because she had a scheduling conflict. So she ran the 26.2 miles like on her own without the crowds and the water stations and the energy stations. So I don't know how she did that. She posted a video about it, which I will link in the description box. I'll like put a little clip right here. But we definitely had a lot of great runs together this season, and it really helped me with my training to have that accountability partner. So now let's talk about new things that I learned now that I've done 3 marathons. The number one thing is proper form when you're running. I of course will always have room to improve, but I can feel myself having learned so much. I know how to make things more efficient as I'm running, and that's definitely all thanks to the marathon training program I did and to all of Track Club Babe's Instagram posts. The 2 main things that helped me the most when thinking about form was having a high cadence, which is like the number of steps per minute, and also having a forward lean when you're running. So with the cadence, you actually want to be taking small steps that are really fast rather than long, like slower steps. And that was kind of a shocker for me because I had always tried to run with longer steps because I just thought it was more efficient, like I'm just making more strides literally, but actually you end up going faster when you're taking smaller steps and moving quickly because you get a faster turnover, and it also helps with you getting the correct placement of your foot when you're running. Again, I'm not a running coach or anything, so definitely go do your own research as well. Apparently having a cadence of 180 steps per minute is ideal, but you know, it might be different if maybe you're a little bit taller, so your legs are longer, you can't turn them over as quickly. I found that 180 is really fast and didn't feel very natural to me at first. And even now I feel like I'm usually more in the 175 range, but it's something that I'm working on. Listening to music helps with this a lot. So I would often find playlists on Spotify and I'd put 180 BPM in the search term and it will bring up playlists that have songs that have that beat. So it just helps you to stay more on that cadence. Forward lean was another interesting one. So you kind of want to lean forward without like hunching, obviously, like you still want to have good posture, but you sort of want to lean forward from your ankles. I like to think about Michael Jackson's Smooth Criminal dance when I'm trying to lean forward, but this also helps you to just use your momentum and kind of use gravity to your advantage in order to propel yourself forward. Those are the 2 key things that I learned with form. There are of course so many other things like the shoulders and your core, but if I had to pick 2 that really spoke to me, then it would be cadence and forward lean. Another thing I learned, which I touched on earlier when I was talking about the training plan, is thinking about your runs as effort-based and time-based rather than distance-based. It's definitely important to get enough miles when you're training for a marathon, especially because your body just needs to get used to running for such a long time and such a long distance. But it's also important to get your body used to knowing what a certain effort level is. So what is your easy, what is your medium, what is your hard, whatever the scale is that you're using, you want to get your body used to knowing and then unlocking those different levels. The reason that's really important for marathons is because it's a long race, and so you have to learn how to conserve your energy. I think one mistake I made was that I didn't conserve enough energy in the beginning, which is why I burned out and ended up having to walk for a little bit in the middle of the marathon. So even though this last marathon was my slowest time, I honestly learned the most through this training process, and I feel like it's all just to help set me up for success with my next marathon. So speaking of my next marathon, here are some things that I want to do differently the next time I train. Number 1 is taking the time to recover properly and specifically get good sleep. I've definitely gotten better at doing warm-ups and doing cool-down stretches before and after my runs. Now and then I would get like a foot massage to help with that recovery as well, but I'm learning that sleep really is like the number 1 way to recover. Because I'm somebody who kind of can run on like less sleep than the average person, I find that I am not getting adequate sleep in order to recover, especially from the long runs that you end up doing during a marathon training plan. Speaking of sleep and rest and recovery, I also am going to try my best to avoid any travel the week before my marathon. For this most recent marathon and my second marathon, I had a work trip like the week before the race, and so I didn't get enough sleep, I didn't get enough rest. And the thing is that in that last week of your marathon training, right before your marathon, you're not trying to gain any new fitness. Like no new workout you do is going to help you get any faster in 1 week. So the focus for that last week really should be on relaxing, resting, obviously getting a couple of workouts in to make sure your body is like oiled up and ready to go. But that rest and recovery is super important so that you can be at 100% for race day. So I know I can't always control a business trip, but if I can, I will try so that I can get proper rest the week before my race. Another thing I want to try to do differently is focus a bit more on my diet. Of course, with your health, exercise is important, but so is your diet and the fuel that you're putting into your body. And I really did not consider my diet at all this time around. I think especially because it's been a few years since I ran a marathon, I really just focused on the running part of it and didn't add the diet on top of that. So I definitely want to try to be a bit more intentional about what I'm eating as I'm training for my next marathon. Another thing I want to do differently or focus on is running my easy runs like really easy. This is something new that I'm learning and researching, but I saw this post by Track Club Babe, of course. I just pulled it up so I can reference it. So she posted this side-by-side image, and when she ran a 3-hour and 47-minute marathon, she was running all of her easy runs during her training plan too fast, like maybe too close to marathon pace. But when she ran a 3-hour and 11-minute marathon, so much faster, she was doing all of her easy runs in a 10 to 12 minute per mile pace. A 3:11 marathon, by the way, is like less than 7:20, I think, per mile. So she was doing her easy runs like 3 to 5 minutes slower per mile than what her marathon pace was. And the main takeaway is that when you're doing your hard runs and your hard workouts during your training plan, you are really going for it and you're really getting to that pace or faster than your marathon pace. But when you do your easy runs, you really back down. So it's this like extreme rather than not getting fast enough during your hard workouts and then being too fast during your easy workouts. When I was training this time around, I definitely had a range in my pace, but it wasn't nearly as big as what she's describing. So I want to try running my difficult workouts really, really hard and then running my easy workouts like really scaled back. And finally, I want to do more cross training. So that's doing workouts that are not running. So it might be like doing some weights, might be swimming, cycling. I did like a handful of cross training workouts throughout my training plan, but I want to try incorporating that a bit more. Pretty much all the training plans I've seen incorporate at least like 1 day of cross training during the week, so I want to try to achieve that as well. That's it for this video. I hope it was helpful. Let me know if you're training for a marathon or half marathon or any other race in the comments. I would love to wish you luck. And if you also have any running tips that you've learned and want to share, leave those in the comments as well. I often post running updates on my Instagram, so go follow me there if you want more running content. And with that, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.